Hello and welcome to Two-Way Happy Hour with me, Meghan McCain, and my co-host Miranda Wilkins. We have a very special guest. We've got some housekeeping to get into, but our special guest is already here, Miranda. So we will get to it at the end of the show. But we have some fun changes coming to this grab bag hodgepodge show. We're making it work. We're very happy Miranda's here. But we have a very serious and important guest. We have Senator James Lankford, who is the senator from Oklahoma and the author of the newly released book Turnaround: America's Revival. And you can follow him on X at James Lankford and on Instagram at Senator Lankford. Senator, thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Glad to be able to do it, actually. Glad it's a fun program as well. I just heard it's a fun program.
I mean, look,
but serious.
We have a good time.
Yeah, I can't see him. Speaking of
Oh.
Can we pull him on? So sorry, Senator.
I can see him. Yeah.
There, I can see you. It's really important I see you in right now. This is what I mean. This is like a half show. We're like kind of serious. Okay, so we actually have, Senator, this is important to us, okay? So last summer, Miranda and I, when we were co-hosting our podcast that has turned into this show, we went and screened the movie Twisters. We reviewed it. We loved it. We loved this movie. We loved it. Okay, so the Oklahoma City Free Press, which published a review of the Twister sequel, said it is an insult to science and the people of Oklahoma. We want to know where you stand on the movie Twisters.
100% insult to the people of Oklahoma on that one. The funny thing about it to me is I'm sitting in the theater watching it in the release. I was there actually for the big release on it. And the big twister at the end of it. Okay, if you've not seen the movie, don't listen to this part. Anyway, the big climax at the end of it were the huge tornadoes coming through El Reno. And it shows the people in Oklahoma. Number one, they're in a theater watching a black and white movie, which made me laugh. I was like, we do have talking movies in Oklahoma. We're pretty current. Yes. That was number one. They were watching a black and white movie in the theater. And then they're all running around like crazy through the theater, like they don't want to know what to do. I was like, seriously? Every single Oklahoman would know what to do during a tornado. So it kind of showed us a little bit random. And then the scene where they're in the rodeo and they say the air feels heavy.
Yeah.
And it's like, there must be a tornado nearby. I'm like, stop. Every single tornado, we know an hour ahead of time before it comes through because we've got such good weather forecasting. No one stands outside and says the air feels heavy. Okay, that doesn't happen.
So it was insulting to Oklahoma.
Yeah, it was a little insulting to Oklahoma. Anyway, we were glad they came in. They filmed in Oklahoma. Everybody was super nice in the process. But yeah, we actually know how to handle a tornado.
Yeah, that kind of bums me out because we really liked it. And then like Miranda her brother was born in Oklahoma and she was like, Twisters are very real. So this was very important.
That's why we moved back to California. Sorry. My brother was born in Altus. It's a tiny town in southern Oklahoma.
Altus is one of the greatest places in America.
Altus. Yep.
Yeah, Altus is great. By the way, we don't have giant earthquakes. We're not anticipating
They're so
the coast.
Rare. Come on.
We're not anticipating the coast falling off towards the Pacific side. We're not anticipating that.
We got that text the other day, a full 30 seconds before the earthquake happened.
We're trying to get Miranda to leave the hellhole that is California, but her family's there. Last question on this. What's the scariest tornado you've ever been in or around?
Oh, scariest one by far, 1999. I'm in a bathtub. It's a cast iron bathtub with my youngest daughter, who's 3 years old, with a mattress over the top of us and an F5 tornado coming south of us a few miles. My wife was actually shopping with a girlfriend. She was south of the tornado as it came in. And so she's with one of her girlfriends shopping, and I'm trying to get a hold of her while I'm taking care of my 3-year-old on it. And it was a pretty scary moment. It was a big tornado. And it literally separated the town in half. So my wife actually couldn't get home that night even because there was no north-south road to be able to come up anymore.
How rare are F5s?
Oh, very rare.
Okay.
Very rare. They're ugly when they happen. We have as many tornadoes in Oklahoma as Illinois has. Ours are just bigger.
Okay. Well, I know about F5s because of the original Twisters movie, but that sounds like my hell. Our second question on movies, and I promise we're going to get to some serious things, but sometimes it's like Wednesday and there's a lot going on in the world. We want to have a little fun. We were told that The Princess Bride is your favorite movie, which is also Senator Ted Cruz's favorite movie.
Yeah.
Miranda thinks it's overrated. I think it's a little overrated.
He's gonna hate me by the end of this interview.
No,
why are you setting me up
like
this?
I'm not going to hate you on this. It is required viewing for every one of our staff as they come through, because now we have younger staff that literally weren't alive when Princess Bride came out, and they have no idea that classic movie. But yeah, it's for the longest in our staff that was just like, you wouldn't understand the conversation in the hallways if you hadn't seen Princess Bride. So it's like you wouldn't get the joke. So you got to be able to watch it.
Do some
Yeah.
of the Zers, have they like not seen it because it's kind of an older movie?
Yeah, that's our problem. So we actually make sure that they actually watch it to be able to make sure they can understand the context of it.
That's really
Yeah.
funny.
No, I mean, I'm old enough to have seen it. I have a friend whose name is Wesley, who's named after the character in
There you
in the
go.
movie, or maybe the book. I didn't see it till I was in college, and it was for a film studies class. We had to read the book and then see the movie, and everyone in class was like geeking out, oh, so excited to watch the movie, and I hadn't seen it. So we watched it, and I just did not get it. I was not that excited. I
You
didn't
can't
understand.
intern in his office, Miranda.
I'm
Just
That's
so you
right.
sorry.
know.
Won't be eligible.
Okay, well, darn.
We wanted to ask you some personal questions, if you don't mind.
Sure.
I loved Senator Tom Coburn, who you replaced in the
Yep.
Senate, and I wanted to know, did you ever get to know him? Do you have any experiences with him? And when I think of him, I think of just like the man who was, they called him, I think, Dr. No, because he was like
Dr. No.
so against waste, so against spending. What do you think he would think of what's going on with Doge right now and Elon? And what do you think he would just think of the country right now? The interactions I had with him, he was like a really straight shooter. My dad loved him, like was
Yep.
obsessed with him. And he was just, I think he's just really missed right now.
Yeah, he's really missed. So let me say a couple of things. I want to correct one thing you said. You said I replaced Dr. Coburn. No one replaces Dr. Coburn.
Okay,
I'm in that same
that's
seat,
fair.
but there's not another one of him. Those are boots I cannot fill in that. I am very passionate about dealing with the waste and efficiencies, but he was very passionate about that. People knew him as Dr. No, but he was also a guy that taught a Sunday school class still on Sundays back in his home church. He was very engaged in a lot of policy areas. I did get to know him very well. In fact, I will never forget the last weeks of his life. I went and visited he and his wife Carolyn at their house, and we just sat and talked for a while, just visiting. And he obviously knew he was getting close to the end, and so he was just waxing and telling stories. He ended up giving me a book that was his book that he read all the time. It's a Christian book called the Great Omission. That is the challenge of the things that we don't do, and it's all marked up, highlighted. Clearly, he read it multiple times and marked it all up. And he was like, this is a principle, life principle for me, and handed that to me. I still have that, obviously. And so there's a lot of great memories and conversations that we had over the years.
Yeah, he's a really wonderful man. Like, really, I just really miss him. What do you think he would think of Doge and what's going on in DC?
I think he would say about Doge, it's about time, because he said years ago, hey, if we don't start dealing with waste now, it's going to get a lot harder in the days ahead. Now we have $2 trillion in overspending, and everyone complains about $1 billion being cut. And we're like, $1 billion being cut is not close. We're going to have significant changes. He put out a book once called Back in Black, and it was this list of everything that would have to be cut if we actually are going to balance the budget. And all of Washington, D.C. was like, that's crazy. Well, Doge is actually taking some of those ideas, some of the things that I've actually laid out with what I call federal fumbles every year. And they're actually implementing some of those things, and people are complaining, but then they turn around and say, but yeah, we got to find a way to be able to reduce spending, which is true. We can't keep borrowing money from all over the world and from ourselves and think this doesn't have a consequence.
Some of the core memories, Senator, that Miranda and I have, I'm 40, she's 38, that we have of our life is from the Oklahoma City bombing, because I was 10 when it happened. This week, I didn't even know this is the 30th anniversary.
It is.
I know you spoke on the Senate floor to honor the victims. I assume you were in Oklahoma at the time. What are the scars left from that incident? Because it's really one of the worst things that's ever happened in American history. And,
It is.
People associate it with your state. What is that like?
So it is still the worst act of domestic terrorism in the history of the country. We had 168 people that died. 19 of those are children. I do speak on it often, and I remind people as we get in this really angry, elevated intensity of our national debate to say we in Oklahoma understand that when somebody gets angry at the government and is irrational, they do irrational, stupid things. And this guy was literally angry at the federal government. He was angry about Waco. He was angry about how he perceived that the federal government was treating its citizens. And so he loaded up a Ryder truck full of fertilizer and diesel fuel, lit the fuses, and drove off and killed 168 people. So I tell people all the time, when people talk about the rhetoric does matter.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean every person that's screaming and yelling is going to be irrational and have a truck bomb. But there are irrational people that hear irrational, crazy things, and they take it to its extreme like this guy did. And so, no, it is something we talk about all the time and say, when you understand domestic terrorism and somebody mad at the government and they're going to go take it out on the government, try to spark a civil war, that is a real thing for some people. So I encourage folks, all right, let's argue about the issues, but then let's solve it at the end. Let's not just argue and yell and walk away. Let's keep yelling until we solve it. And we don't seem to be working towards solving things right now. And I think that's a major problem.
We were talking earlier, yeah, on the show on Monday about Governor Shapiro and the mansion being burned to the
Yeah.
ground by a radical. I don't want to give you people too much information about where I live, but I live very close to where Congressman Scalise was shot, and I know that the shooter was like living in a warehouse, a storage facility, like right near where I live, and this is a very dangerous time for politicians. It's a very dangerous time for anyone with a public platform. What is the answer? Because people are going down, burning down governors' mansions and shooting Congress people. And yeah, go ahead,
Sorry
Miranda.
to interrupt you, but we were going to bring this up on Monday and we didn't. But Taylor Lorenz's tweet about
Yes.
Luigi Mangione, and what she had to say about that. So there are people who, with very public platforms, almost encouraging this type of behavior.
That they literally celebrate irrational violence and what is actual assassinations and murders on that. We should never do that. There should never be political violence, period, on it, whether you're trying to assassinate the president of the United States or you're assassinating a CEO of a company or you're burning down a governor's mansion. Or as we saw, literally the 2 weeks after I was elected is when Gabby Giffords was shot
Yeah.
at just a town hall meeting outside of a grocery store. So it's not new, but it is ramping up, and social media is driving it where people feel like they can say anything. And when people say all these crazy and irrational things on social media, there are irrational people that read the posts and they take it to the next level from there. So that is part of the challenge, that we've got to figure out how to be able to talk to each other and not just scream at each other on social media to get more likes. Strangely enough, and I know this sounds like a weird transition, I've got 2 chapters in my book about national anger to be able to challenge us on who we are, and for people of faith especially. And I do run into people of faith that live their faith in every area except in politics. And they're like, politics is different. And I'm like, no, it's not. There's nothing any different about this. Jesus didn't have a little asterisk next to love your neighbor as yourself unless they're from the wrong political party, then stick it to them. Because that's not true. That's not what that scripture says. It's a very basic principle that if you're going to love your neighbor as yourself, that includes neighbors that don't agree with you. We should be able to have strong, passionate arguments, get things resolved, but still be respectful in the dialogue. The more disrespect, the more anger that we're driving, the more we're modeling that for the next generation. And the next generation drives it up. The next generation drives it up. That doesn't get better until a group of people decide this is dumb. This is a dumb way to go. This doesn't solve a problem. Nobody's ever convinced me of anything by screaming in my face. They've not moved me. For some reason, people believe that moves people. It doesn't. So let's actually do what's going to actually solve the problem.
Who do you find the most productive to work with, and who do you have the best relationship with on the left?
Oh, Chris Coons. I'd probably get him in trouble for just talking about that, but he's an actual friend and a solid guy and a fellow Christian. His wife and my wife are friends, and we visit all the time about non-political things as well as talk about political things. Now, Chris votes wrong all the time, but he's such a great friend and just a genuine, decent human being.
That's really nice to hear, honestly. We wanted to talk about tariffs, but we have had to spend a lot of time being educated on tariffs. I apologize. So I'm not an expert in this, but Miranda's husband works in Hollywood, and he is a carpenter, and he works on TV sets. And I'm going to let you tell the story, but he has a question that he wanted her to ask through you.
He's very concerned about the tariffs, in particular with his job, because they buy a lot of lumber and a lot of wood. And when there was the oh gosh, forgive me, but the supply chain shortage right after COVID and stuff, they had a hard time getting material. Everything was so expensive. And now with the import tariffs and stuff, and maybe this hasn't hit yet, but he's worried about the price of lumber and wood specifically, because they go through so much of that stuff building their sets, and everything is so disposable. A producer could write out a set that they built already and spent all the money for, and they work on these budgets. What do you have to what's going to happen to these and maybe this doesn't affect you because it's Oklahoma, but Hollywood and all the jobs that are being purged from Los Angeles, but also home building prices, the cost of building stuff, and just like we were talking about this woman with her small business and her rubber silicone mats and all that stuff. What's going to happen to small business people with these tariffs and the reciprocal tariffs and all this stuff? Because it's way beyond our pay grade and
Yeah.
comprehension.
Yeah, so let me give you three different things there. We try to walk through the questions. Lumber is
Yeah.
actually accepted from the tariff. So that is,
Okay,
the
good.
president listed several exceptions. Lumber was one of those for exactly the reason you just said.
Thank
As far as
goodness.
stealing jobs from Hollywood, may I remind you, Twisters was filmed in Oklahoma,
Oh
not
yeah,
in
I know.
Hollywood. So
Touche, Senator.
At least
we're
it
already
wasn't
doing that.
Canada. We're okay with Oklahoma, but that
So,
wasn't Canada, so
yeah,
that's all
yeah,
right.
we're already still in that. On the tariff piece, the small business is the biggest risk. Walmart's going to figure this out. Target's going to figure this out. Big Costco, they're going to figure all this out. The hardest one is going to be the small business. In fact, I had an Oklahoma company I talked to yesterday. They do just promotional items, embroidery, all that kind of stuff that they do. Obviously, a lot of that stuff is ordered from China on it. They're really worried about this because they're saying, I can't sell it if it costs twice as much. People just won't buy it. And this is a lot of companies that it's, an add-on, something that they do. It's not essential. He's in trouble if all those prices actually double. So that is the biggest challenge that we have is the small business side of this. Tariffs are a tax. It's just a question on who pays the tax. It's either a tax on the country that's selling it or a tax on the country that's buying it. And honestly, it's not clean. Some products will go one way or the other on it. Vietnam, for instance, we do a lot of business with Vietnam. Our state does, all over the country does. Vietnam will probably drop its prices to be able to match the tariff on it because they want to be competitive globally. Other countries may or may not, and it's going to depend from product to product on it. So when someone says the other country's paying that and somebody else says no, we are, they're probably both right because it depends on the actual product and what the negotiation is going to be like internationally to be able to do it. Best thing that could happen though is to be able to force all the negotiations globally to bring down our tariff and trade barriers because there are a bunch. Easiest example on this, Australia. We buy a lot of beef from Australia. They don't buy our beef at all. They block us out. We're friends with Australia. They're our ally, but they've got a big trade barrier for us on getting our beef. So they need to drop that trade barrier so we can open it up. If they drop that trade barrier, we should, as a country, drop all of our tariffs there and get back open to free trade again on it. And we'll see how this gets negotiated. The administration's got about 80 more days of negotiation. They need to land some of these deals. And so people know, hey, we're actually landing certain countries' deals and dropping tariff rates.
Senator, one of the things we do on the show is we have some of our like normie friends on to talk about their life. And one of my girlfriends, like she cannot take more economic hardship. The Biden years really screwed her. She has 4 young kids.
Yep.
How nervous should people be with a possibility price increase? Again, we're like shooting in the dark here. I'm not an expert, not a senator, but like the idea that an iPhone could cost $3,000 or like even like little, like how nervous do you think people should be? And how nervous are your constituents?
So it depends from company to company and person to person on it. I've got folks in Oklahoma that are like, yeah, no big deal. This is going to be easy on it. I've got some companies, like there's a company that does a lot of LED lighting. Well, LED lighting is not made here in America. If you buy a ceiling fan, there's not a single ceiling fan that's made in America anymore. So you talk about home building on this or just replacement of a ceiling fan, that's going to have a big tariff on it. And so people are very concerned about that. I get that. That's valid. So I'd say a couple of things on it. One is, the administration really is working very aggressively to try to actually negotiate deals. China is going to be the hardest one, but they've also been the biggest violator of trade for a long time. Maybe this is 6 months of a battle. The problem that we have on this, going back to the question earlier about COVID, if we have a 6-month pause that we're not bringing stuff in from China, we're going to have major supply chain issues on tons of stuff because there's lots of products made in America that have 1 or 2 parts that are made in China. And they can't finish the product if no one's buying their stuff for 6 months. We're in trouble on that. So that's the one that I'm most concerned about right now. But I do think a lot of the countries, Bangladesh, Vietnam, Honduras, lots of different countries around the world, I think they're going to work out deals on those pretty rapidly. And we're not going to have big tariffs on that, except for China. And I'm hopeful that they resolve it because, quite frankly, America and China both need each other. If China can't sell into America, they're in trouble in their economy. If we're not buying some of these Chinese products right now because we don't have other places to get it, we're in trouble. So it's kind of a mutually assured destruction, if I could say it that way. So there's an incentive for both sides to work this out.
One of the pieces of legislation that you proposed, which we are big supporters of, is having to do with the concern of China buying up property
Yeah.
in middle American farms. That petrifies me. I know you don't spend a lot of time on mom TikTok, but this is actually an issue that like mothers in America are very scared
Yeah.
about. The idea of China controlling our farmland and Bill Gates, but whatever. How hard has this legislation been to put through? Why do you think these foreign nationals want to buy so much property in middle America? It feels very
Yeah.
dystopian. It's very scary. I'm a like I hate China person in general. Even I don't care if that's hypocritical, excuse me, given some of the things I buy. But are you worried about what they're using with this land?
Yeah, I am. That's why I'm actually bringing this piece of legislation. It's called the Soil Act, and it just controls who buys and who can buy our land. It doesn't absolute prohibit, but it puts a big giant hoop so that somebody's got to be able to actually prove it. And it puts it on China, Russia, North Korea, and Iran. Okay, if those four countries are coming to buy land, it's not because they think our country's beautiful and they want a vacation here. They've got a purpose that they're trying to be able to accomplish. They're putting it near a manufacturing location. They're putting it in a strategic spot to try to control whatever it may be in that spot with infrastructure. So I think we need to be able to require it. If you buy a business, if a Chinese company wants to buy an American technology business, they've got to go through a process called a CFIUS review. Don't worry about all the details. They've got to go through a review of that. But if you buy land, you don't. Well, I think that's a huge mistake. So all I want to do is to be able to put the same review you'd have to do to buy a company as you do to be able to buy land in the United States. We're seeing it in Oklahoma with Chinese criminal organizations getting a hold of the land and doing large marijuana manufacturing.
Oh my
They're literally
God.
getting illegal aliens coming in across the border. They're Chinese nationals working in these farms that are here that they're putting up in Oklahoma. And literally, you've got Oklahoma farmers and ranchers that down the street from them is a bunch of guys with AK-47s and big tall fences growing weed there. And we're like, we've
Gosh,
lost our mind here. We
scary.
shouldn't allow that kind of purchasing. And we're one by one trying to be able to eliminate it, but it shouldn't have happened in the first place.
That is really petrifying, honestly. I like don't even know what to do with that, but I'm very grateful that you are putting that legislation forth. And if anyone votes against it, please let us know because we're happy to blast them all over social
Well,
media.
we're going to try to get it in the farm bill later on this year and to be able to
Good.
get that done.
Good. You served under Mitch McConnell and John Thune. What's the vibe difference between both those men? Is it like, I mean, John Thune's obviously
Yeah.
much younger, but how is the Senate different being run under John Thune? And I really
I,
like him.
I actually hadn't noticed that the two. Is John Thune's younger than Mitch? I hadn't
Yeah.
noticed. Yeah,
Sorry,
no, I'm
by
just
a
kidding.
bit. So
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah. So
By a little bit.
Thune's a different leader, different style on it. Mitch McConnell's extremely close to the vest, but hardly talk to anybody about anything on it.
Wow.
That's no grand secret on it. He was very careful with the press and with members on that. Even members of the leadership team, he was very careful on that because he was always concerned about leaks. Thune has a different leadership style. He's bringing people in. He wants to be able to talk about things. He wants to be able to brainstorm it in. He's working more with the committee structure. Like he's saying, I'm not going to try to bring bills straight to the floor. I want the committees to be able to work. And he's kind of forcing people to do their job again. That's a different structure to be able to do it. Two totally different styles. But I think it's a good style for right now and what we're trying to accomplish of what John Thune's trying to do. We got a lot of hard things, tax policy, trying to deal with reducing spending, $2 trillion. We've got a lot of really complicated issues that the more cooks you have in the kitchen on that, and the more people that are committed to the soup and says, I was a part of making that, so I want to actually help sell that as well. If there's only one or two people that actually made the soup, it's hard to be able to get people to help sell it.
Well, I've really enjoyed him in leadership since he took over from Mitch McConnell. No shade to him,
Yeah.
but it's
Yeah.
just better. I don't know if you know this, Senator, but you, Miranda, and I have something in common. We all have two daughters. I
Oh,
do,
yeah.
Miranda does, and you do.
Hmm.
When we have our friend Senator Ted Cruz on, we always want to ask just about like what is it like having daughters? I know a thing or two about this, but having a big famous dad in Oklahoma, having him as a senator, how do you make sure that their lives maintain as much normalcy as possible? Are
Yeah.
they like inspired by you, or do they think it's dorky? Like, how does your family deal? So, well, I thought my dad was a
Yeah.
dork forever. How does your family deal with like the pressure of having, a father
Yeah.
as a senator?
Yeah, well, one of my daughters doesn't get on social media at all to look at my stuff because
Smart.
it's so toxic, so evil. It's a dark
Yeah.
rabbit hole of all kinds of random comments and stuff. A lot of them are just people literally paid to go attack senators to be able to go knock them down on that. So it's not even real for half of it, but you can't tell which half is real, which half is not. So one daughter doesn't get on at all. The other daughter has a really interesting balance on it. She goes and looks at it, comes back and tells us, and is able to engage on it in a very different way. But I, like y'all, I love my daughters and they're amazing women, 28, 24, and they're remarkable ladies. And they're grown up, they're out of the house, they're productive American citizens and doing remarkable work right now. So just tremendously proud of them. But you're right, it is different when your dad is in the public eye. As you know well, it's a different experience when you walk into places. So both of them actually really go by their first name all the time. And they'll talk about things in their first name. And there's a lot of their friends that find out later go, oh, wait, Lankford, are you, is that your
Yeah.
uncle or something? And they're like, no, that's my dad. And
Mhm.
they're not ashamed of me, but they want to be their own person. They don't want to be James's, the senator's daughter. They want to be themselves on it. And that's what I'm really proud of them for.
If they ever need any advice, you can have my cell phone number. It's not always easy. One
Yeah.
of the things I love about your book is that you actually wrote it. You did not have a
Right.
ghostwriter. I think you're the first person to come on that didn't have a ghostwriter. Like, no offense to some of our other guests. How did you have time to do it? And what inspired you to write about America's revival?
So 3 years of writing. That's what happens when you don't have a ghostwriter. You only get to do a little bit at a time, but you can actually cram stuff in between. It's a lot of time on the plane. When I'd finish up the other work that I'm working on, I'd work on a chapter. Is weekends. I affectionately call the study in my house the coal mine. And I would occasionally tell Cindy, hey, I'm going to go into the coal mine for a couple hours and do some writing on the weekends. But it took 3 years to be able to get it all written, to get it together on it, then to be able to release it out. So that's what happens when it takes so long. To me, this is an issue that I'm very passionate about who we are as a people as much as what we do as a people. And I think right now more and more people are consumed with just what we do. It doesn't matter how we do it. I just disagree. I think there's a right thing to do and a right way to do it. And that's defining of who we are as Americans. We are still role models for the entire world. The whole world still watches us to see what we do and how we do it. And we set the example. And I think it's important for us to be able to set a good example, not only for our children behind us, but for the entire world that's watching, is to say, here's how you live in freedom. And here's what that can really mean to individuals.
And you recorded it yourself, correct?
I did. I did the audio version. In fact, my wife is the one that caught me and said, you cannot allow someone else to do the audio book on it. You got to do the audio book or everybody's going to think you copped out on it. So it's about 6 hours of recording time. It took over 2 days to actually do it. But I think it's like 5 hours, 6 hours like that total recording time for the book.
I hated recording my book more than I hated that process. I found that like a soul sucking when they make you redo the lines, but you have a great voice. So I understand why they wanted to do it, but I'm never doing that again. There's nothing on the planet. Get me record a book again. No offense.
It's hard to read your own stuff because you read it and you go, oh, I wish I'd have written that differently.
Yes.
I'd have said it a little bit different. Thankfully, my publisher gave me a little bit of latitude saying if you want to change a line or two or add an explanation, you can do that. So the audio version does have additional stuff that the written version does not.
It's like the
All right, we're
director's
being
cut.
told,
Yeah.
director's cut. We're being told by staff, and you're a very busy man, that we have one more question. Miranda, is there anything else you want to add? We really appreciate your time, Senator. And on it, legitimately, your book looks wonderful. We did not get sent a copy, or we would have read it. So
Oh,
I'm
I need
happy
that
to
too.
go. Yeah, so yell at your staff. We should
That's
get
our
them
way
a
of
book.
begging for a
Yeah, can we get a copy? Is there anything
We'll
else
trade
you want
you,
to ask?
free advice for your daughters for a book. No, I just want to apologize for the Princess Bride. I promise I'll watch it again now that I'm a little bit older, and maybe I'll change my mind about it. Yeah.
You might.
Oh,
You might.
I'm so sorry. This is a sloppy show. We're told you're okay with an audience question.
I am.
Oh,
But we want
we
to
have questions lined up.
emphasize this is a polite,
They're not
friendly
vetted,
show.
so don't get mad at us.
Yes, this is a polite, friendly show, and I will
crazy.
cut you out in 2 seconds if you're rude to our guests. We are respectful on the show.
So nice.
We
He
have the
answered our
first
crazy
question.
questions.
Hi,
seriously.
Christine. How are you?
I do not want to get punched by Meghan McCain. So I promise.
This is a
Please
respectful
don't.
space. Okay.
Well, listen, I know the senator has minimal time. I just wanted to say first, I'm being reminded by this that Oklahoma is one of 2 states I have yet to visit. So maybe firstly, does he have any recommendations for where a first timer should visit in the great state of Oklahoma?
Oh, you're not going to hit
Yeah.
a bad county in Oklahoma. 77 counties, all are unique. We're the most diverse geography in anywhere in the country. I know everybody's going to argue on that, but you go from the east side of the state in tall timber and running rivers to the west side of the state in open plains and you can't find a tree. We actually have an area called Little Sahara State Park. It is literally looks like the Sahara Desert where people go dune buggies right in the middle of it. It's kind of remarkable. So there's just not a bad spot in the state to be able to
Very
enjoy.
cool.
But I encourage folks to be able to come to Oklahoma City, quite frankly. Not only I live in Oklahoma City, but coming to the Oklahoma City National Memorial,
Yeah.
that is an incredibly moving place. We'll be there this Saturday, obviously for the 30th anniversary of the bombing and that remembrance time. But it is incredibly moving. So if you've been to New York and to that location, you'll see how different it is in the Oklahoma City remembrance on it. But come.
Yeah, thank you. I remember that morning, just like Meghan and Miranda do.
Yeah.
Really, really sad. But thank you for the travel tips. The main question I wanted just to ask quickly, and really it's to start with a thank you for your efforts last year to really push forward a bipartisan immigration bill, which of course had a pretty brutal outcome. And so I'm just wondering in this political age, and I look forward to reading your book, maybe you touch on this as well. But what do you think it'll take for us to have a system that recognizes our country benefits from immigrant labor and immigrant integration into our society, but we've got to have law and order? Is there any pathway forward on this to have a sane functioning system?
So I do think there's a pathway forward on it. Thanks for bringing up, by the way, the epic fireball failure of last year. I appreciate the
Sorry.
reminder on that. So that's great.
Not your fault.
No,
Did it
no
nicely, yeah.
PTSD. There is a chapter in the book about it, and quite frankly, my bride as well came in. I wasn't going to write a chapter on it. She's like, everybody that picks up your book is going to want to know, what are your thoughts on that? What did you learn from it? Where'd you go through? So there is a chapter in the book on that specific section. But for me, I am optimistic that we're going to solve it. And there's two reasons for that. One is we have gaps in the law. That's what I was trying to address last year. It doesn't matter who's president. We have loopholes that are in the asylum system that I can assure you the court is going to step in at some point on this administration. And the administration's already said over and over again, they're going to honor the court. They're going to honor the court. I know there's a big fight on that. They're going to do that. But there are loopholes in the asylum system that will get exploited. You can see it through the first administration of President Trump. The third year of his presidency, we had almost 1 million people that illegally crossed the border that year. And they were very frustrated trying to be able to figure out how to be able to work through this process and fighting back and forth with the courts on it. So they eventually figured it out on it, but there's a lot of frustration because there are real problems. That's still got to be solved. The other thing on it is President Trump has already said he wants to deal with the DACA issue and he wants to actually give legal status to those folks. He said in his very first interview. Well, that requires congressional action. I can assure you the negotiator, President Trump, is not going to do a bill that's only DACA. He's not going to do that. He's going to say, how are we going to deal with border security? How are we going to deal with asylum? How are we going to deal with all these other problems that are out there? What are we going to do on legal visas? He owns golf courses and resorts. He's done a lot of visa process before, so he's a proponent of those things. So I think there will be a moment he's going to say, I want to do DACA, but at the same time we do it, I want to do these things as well.
Great to hear. Thank you.
Thank you so much,
Sure.
Christine. I'm sorry to be, I just don't mean anything. You were a delight. Thank you. Our last question for you, Senator. Miranda and I have one night off, and Christine, in Oklahoma City. What restaurant do you recommend we go to?
Oh my gosh, now you're going to get me in trouble with
I know.
1,000 great restaurants that are in Oklahoma, because there are a bunch. There's some great ones in Tulsa, Oklahoma City, all over the country. If you want to go to out of the way place, you end up in tiny little Blair, Oklahoma, at the back.
Oh my God, I love
Steakhouse
that's where
on
my
it.
dad went to high school.
Come on, right outside of Altus,
He
you know it well.
graduated
So
from Blair.
fun place to be able to go and have a great steak way out in the middle of nowhere on it. Beautiful people. But if you're in Oklahoma City, I always send people to the Hefner Grill. It sits on the edge of the lake. You can watch the sunset, eat great seafood. Yes, even in Oklahoma, you can do that. And it's just a really nice, quiet restaurant to get a chance to get away. So now you got me in trouble with every other restaurant in the state.
I'm sorry.
He just lost all of his reservations.
That sounds fabulous. Senator, you can pick up his new book, Turn Around America's Revival, or follow him on X at James Lankford and on Instagram at Senator Lankford. Thank you so much for your time. It was an absolute pleasure. We really appreciate it. And good luck with your tour.
Thank you very much. Good to get a chance to visit with y'all.
You too. Thank you. Thank you so much. All right. That was great. It was so nice. So nice to have a charming, nice politician on. Doesn't always happen, you guys. And I'm sorry, I just don't want anyone to come on and be rude.
You never know. And
Yeah.
it's so risky taking like non-vetted questions, but Christine
I
could
know.
not have been
Christine, you're
lovelier.
lovely. We love you. Thank you so much. So
And
we're gonna
I recommend like Blair or Altus, those places in southern Oklahoma where you can sit on like the screened-in porch and watch like the lightning storms from really far away. Because I mean, you need a screened-in porch because of the bugs. Ugh. But the lightning storms from far away are just so beautiful at night to watch. It's the best. I
also
love
so
it.
funny that he's like, no, Twisters isn't real, you guys. Like it's not.
We
It's
don't
not at
care.
all, like-
Honestly, that's what I wrote in our group text. I was like, I honestly don't care about the science. I just like to watch the tornadoes and the CGI. I want to watch it because I was deprived of that as a child. So I don't care about the science.
I don't know. It made
expect
Oklahoma
to,
look really cool. So I don't know.
I don't expect to learn from a movie. I just want to watch it. So just leave me alone.
I want to ask you really quickly. This is the topic that we were supposed to get to Monday. It's a topic we can't stop texting about. And this segment, what are we calling? We have a new
boy.
segment with Miranda for the back half of the show. I think it's called, what is it? I forgot the name. It's what's trending. What's trending, but it's not also what's trending in the world. It's what's trending on our text chain.
With us,
so
yeah.
I've been wanting to talk about this for days. We just didn't get to it Monday. So as everybody knows, after much anticipation, the all-female Blue Origin space mission finally took place last week with stars like Katy Perry, Gayle King, and Lauren Sanchez, who is the fiance of Jeff Bezos, on board. The trip lasted 8 minutes. There's been a lot of public criticism. Olivia Munn, who I just love, called it gluttonous. And even the Wendy's fast food chain got into it and was shading Katy Perry and said, can we send her up? We have a picture of Kesha, who we stand Kesha here on this show.
Love Kesha.
Love Kesha. Hours after the food chain jokingly posted about sending Carrie back, we have a photo number 9. Kesha posted a picture of herself sipping on a Wendy's cup, obviously seeming to shade Perry. And again, we love Kesha. We want to show this video of number 7 of Gayle King and her like stink face that's going viral because she looks really not excited to go on this spaceship.
And here they come.
Here we go.
Loading into the capsule.
And the significance here of the bell, and I should note before I have you explain that, each crew names.
Okay, so we have so much to say. Do you want to see Katy Perry kissing the ground, or do we not care? Yeah, okay, we don't care.
I think we've all seen it enough. Ugh.
I have so much to say, so buckle up. No pun intended. I have things to say. Miranda has things to say. First and foremost, and I know this has been said, but we haven't said it yet. People cannot afford eggs. We are in a time of great uncertainty. We're in a time of a climate change crisis. God knows what the hell that carbon footprint was. They didn't go to space. They took a space Uber up and came back down because you have rich boyfriends and rich fiancés and you're hosting this poorly rated CBS morning show. And Katy Perry had some hit albums when I was in college. I'm 40. I can't believe how tone deaf this is. I can't believe how stupid this is. I can't believe that their PR people allowed them to do it. I can't believe that Oprah didn't tell Gayle King, hey, you know what? This seems like, as Olivia Munn said, a gluttonous, excessive. It's giving Hunger Games. It's giving let them eat cake. It's giving we are the richest 1% and we're going to throw in your face that while you cannot afford to pay your taxes and to pay your electric bill and to pay for eggs, I'm going to go spend God knows how much money, billions of dollars, where real space people and real astronauts can't actually go up for science, but we're going to go up for our own ego. Gayle King has really jumped the shark for me. Katy Perry jumped the shark a long time. Lauren Sanchez, I mean, it's just ridiculous. And I honestly can't believe they didn't have a friend or a PR person to say, don't do this. Because if someone came to me and said this, I'd be like, I'm not doing this for like a variety of reasons. But number one, again, that money could be spent. I saw a doctor tweet. My patients are rationing insulin right now because they can't afford it. Like, I cannot. This is why there's going to be class warfare, by the way. Gayle King and Katy Perry and Lauren Sanchez is why there's going to be class warfare. And start with them, not me, because we're out here talking about it. Your turn.
I read that they were the B list. It was giving like
B list, totally giving B list.
Katy Perry because they couldn't get Beyonce, and Gayle because they couldn't get Oprah. Like
totally.
Stuff like that. They couldn't get the people that they wanted to go up in the rockets, so they were like, well, let's see who we can get. Like, why was Kris Jenner there? Why was Chloe? Why was Chloe there watching? That was bizarre. All of it was very, very strange. I don't understand what the point was. The way they hyped it up, it's like they were going to the space station to take over for Sonny and Butch. Like, what was the point of any of it? I don't understand. And when Gayle was giving her post-game interview, she's like, oh yeah, that's my scared face. It's okay, I get it. It's scary. But I mean, there was no way they were going to allow that rocket to blow up. And imagine being Katy Perry when the whole internet is rooting for
I
you to
know.
die.
I
Like
know.
everyone was just like, wait,
I didn't want them
blow
to
up, blow up, blow up.
explode.
Like they were waiting for it. Like, but I didn't want them to die. But it's like make it interesting. Do something. Like make it get
Well,
stuck.
I
Like
think
do something.
I think the other part of it that we should explore is just the why I take such offense at this is I'm being told like this is feminism. This is girl
What is
boss.
feminist about it?
There is nothing feminist about marrying the right man or being engaged to the right man and getting an opportunity that should be given to astronauts who have worked their entire life, which by the way, scientists
who's by the way, no one's talking about their job. Sorry if I'm stepping on your point.
No.
All of the cuts being done at NASA and
Yes.
all the women, well, the women who's people who are losing their jobs in a week or right now because of this, or maybe not because of this, but
And there are not enough women in space and STEM anyway, and we're happy to say that. But the thing is, like, you're not an astronaut, Gayle King and Katy Perry. I'm sorry because I saw Gayle King like bitching in some interview today about how it's been received. And again, I actually thought Emily Ratajkowski gave like the best example of it, that like you are utilizing your money in a way that's like it is very egregious, throwing in people's faces like we're going to go be a space tourist for 8 minutes on, again, a space Uber, and then you want us to applaud you like you're an actual astronaut. This is not feminism. It's not helping women. And when you say, which this is a direct quote, Katy Perry said, we're putting the ass back in astronaut, and they were concerned about their glam and hair and makeup and what happens to Botox in space. That is not helping women anywhere. You're setting them back. Miranda and I have 4 daughters between us. This is not the example I want for my daughters. I hope they go into space or science. That's cool. I do not want you to have a fiance or, host the CBS show, and that's the reason why you get there. I thought the whole thing, and by the way, we're not alone. They're getting dragged to hell across.
No, they had these
designer
jumpsuits made. I can't remember who the designer was, but they asked them to sew in corsets so they can look skinnier in space.
Yeah.
Like, were they not concerned about being able to breathe? Like their constricted breathing up in 0 Gs? Like, no. And Katy Perry's like releasing her set list up, and the whole thing was PR. It was an ad.
Horrible.
And it's like no one's gonna go to your tour just because you went up in the blimp. It was like, what was the point? And the whole
Also, her tour is not selling. Like,
well,
just,
yeah,
I mean, like,
who wants to go? Why? And her album sucks. So
her album does suck. Her album sucks a lot.
We talked about that on the podcast, 4 months ago when that song came out. So I don't blame Kesha for sipping on a Wendy's. I don't go there, but I might, just to give them a little support. I'll go get something that won't make me sick. But my goodness,
my advice,
fuck
and
all
then
of
you
them,
give your
except
advice.
for the scientists who actually should have gone.
The scientists are fine.
The 2 women who actually did the work, who drove the rocket up and back.
That rocket looks like a penis. Like, I'm sorry, but like, I'm sorry we're not talking about this. Like, it's very
Can we also
phallic.
talk about how Jeff Bezos ate shit walking around the thing and he fell in the hole on his face? Because that was really funny too.
It's so funny. We're going to move on from this topic, but it's just like the most tone deaf. Sometimes things happen in culture where you're just like, I cannot believe that this is not a parody of life. Like, I cannot believe, literally, Gayle King should come across and just said, let them eat cake, bitches. That's what she should have said. Let them eat cake. And sorry, there's a lot of swearing going on. I'm sure the comments on there are freaking out.
They like
I'm sure all the sensitive daisies and delicate people
Don't
watching
say Daisy.
the show right
That's
now.
A very Katy Perry reference.
Excuse me.
We hope Saturday Night Live is doing a show this week. I really hope that they do something on this.
Me too.
I hope we get to see something.
And even though this is a web show, we have a hard out coming up.
Oh yeah, I don't want to get in trouble.
So we don't want to get in trouble, but we have another topic that's also very important to us. And like I said, this is our new segment with Miranda, who I'm so happy is finally back co-hosting this show like we've done so many times before. And like I said, we're going to call this Trending. Last 20 minutes of the show, hopefully last half hour of the show. If the two-way will give us 10 more minutes, that'll be great. We've been obsessed with this topic. So Gene Hackman's home, the actor Gene Hackman. So this is a really sad story. So we thought maybe there was that's Miranda's puppy.
My dog.
We thought that there was maybe like some conspiracy when the announcement of Gene Hackman and his wife Betsy Arakawa died, because if people remember, it was like very weird. They were both found like slumped over in the bathroom and on the floor. It was unclear if they had like starved or they're
like a couple of weeks.
Yeah, one of their dogs had starved to death. It was horrible. So we want to show these pictures, number 4 and number 6. So the page 6 came out and showed the picture and of their home, which is just a mess. If we have the photos, it looks like they're maybe like quarters. It's really disturbing and really ugly. And it said in page 6 that their property had become a breeding ground for infestation, with several dead rodents, droppings, and nests found throughout the property. Betsy's cause of death was attributed to hantavirus, which is a rare rodent transmitted virus. This is my hell. If I die and go to hell, I'm in Gene Hackman's house with the hantavirus. Like, this is so disturbing and so sad. And I know it's weird that we're even like talking about this because there's like a macabre element to this, but
Yeah.
how does someone who is Royal Tenenbaum go from that to this? Like, it is really very disturbing. And I don't know. There's something about it that has just been so sad and tragic that this is an end to this. And I don't know. It's like, where's his family? I talk to
Yeah.
my mom every day. I mean, I know people have like estrangements from their family and things like that happen, but like, if I don't hear from my mom for like 48 hours, I'm like, hey, I'm like texting her assistant. I'm like, is everything fine? And 9 times out of 10, she's just in a country without cell service. But it's like, I don't know. What was your reaction to those photos? You and I were like texting about this all day.
When I see those photos, I see mental illness.
Yeah.
I see people who are estranged from the outside world.
Yeah.
I see people who don't let people in their home, probably because they're embarrassed of how they live, so that it just becomes overwhelming to a point where they don't even have a housekeeper or a caretaker, and they think, oh, I'll deal with that pile tomorrow, or oh, I'll deal with it, and then it just never gets done. Um, I looked it up, and she had been Googling her symptoms, thinking she had COVID or the flu or whatever other illnesses are similar to the hantavirus. I was telling you, I had a girlfriend whose mom thought she had caught the hantavirus when she was camping in Yellowstone. Like, she accidentally ate rat droppings or something when they were camping. I know, but she didn't. And the mom is like,
Oh.
I know. I was like, of course, your mom is the one who got
Oh
the
my
hantavirus
God.
and lived.
How
She's
do you
the
eat
one
a rat
person.
dropping?
You were camping. I don't know.
Ashley's dying
You
over here.
catch shit when you're camping in Yellowstone. But thankfully, she did not get I clarified, because I was like, how did your mom survive the hantavirus? It's got like a 90,
Miranda's
it's got like a
weird.
1% survival rate.
Yes,
She
it's
did
like you
not.
die if you get it. You
You like,
basically die.
you like
Yeah.
definitely die. And that's what this woman did die of. And then he died because nobody was taking care of him. And we found out in the coming days and weeks, or since then, that he wasn't speaking to his kids. So
Horrible.
it wasn't that like weird that nobody knew. But what is weird to me is that they had people who were on their staff that it was their job to maintain the property. You've lived on ranches your whole life. None of them look like that, or
No.
none of them had rodent problems to the point where you're concerned about various like communicable
thank God.
diseases. It's like, because you had people who took care of it, and so did they had the means. So why was it that bad? Even if it's like very Grey Gardens.
Very Grey Gardens. We have a question, Miranda.
Oh.
I think on this topic. And Emily, we've got to make it somewhat quick.
That's my
Emily,
buddy Emily. I know her.
Hi, Emily.
Hey,
How are you?
Hey, I'm good. How are you guys?
Good. Thank you for joining. What's your question, comment, insult, anything?
So not an insult, but I did save this Reddit post for you guys. I was gonna share it with you, Miranda, but I thought I'd come on here and share it. So I know you guys love Yellow Jackets. Miranda and I talk about it a
Yellow
lot.
Jackets.
Yes, the new season was so good. But I found this Reddit post, and it is real world events that they missed while they were lost in the wilderness. Yeah, so according the people on Reddit are wild. They can figure out anything. So it said the Yellow Jackets plane crashed in May of 1996. They're stranded for 19 months. That means they're rescued in December of 1997. What are some of the real life world pop culture events that they missed? A lot. The 1996 Summer Olympics with the U.S. women's soccer team. They missed
Oh.
Princess Diana.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Big one.
The Spice Girls, which I thought that was like 97, 98. Titanic, Space Jam.
Imagine missing the Spice Girls.
Yeah, all the best.
I know,
Yeah.
right? And Space Jam, Biggie and Tupac.
Wow.
Yeah. Jagged Little Pill.
Oh my God, what a terrible
Yeah.
era to have been. No
I
wonder they
know,
went
right?
crazy.
Emily,
I
I'm
know,
gonna say that the last episode of Yellow Jackets really disappointed me, and like I don't know how I'm feeling about this show. I got
see,
some.
I disagree. I think Shauna is losing it.
I think Shauna's losing it. I wasn't
Shauna's a lunatic.
disappointed. She is, but I love her.
Yeah.
it felt rushed. I don't want to give any spoilers away. I
Yeah.
think that they need new writers,
Yeah. Yeah.
or they at least need to organize their
I also
thoughts a little
think
better.
Hillary Swank was definitely a miscast.
Yeah,
Sorry,
she
but
didn't feel like
Yeah,
that.
she
too.
doesn't fit, and she's not a bad actress. She just,
For people
I don't
who
know. So,
don't know this show, it's a show about a soccer player, high school team that their plane crashes and they become cannibals, and it's gnarly. It's like, and cannibalism, I love talking about cannibalism because we're weird. And
Me
like,
too.
so anytime you want to come on and talk about cannibalism, it's fine.
lesbian
But
cannibals.
it's
Yeah.
based off that real
Yeah.
like Andy's soccer team. And by the way, like,
Yeah.
I didn't know. We're gonna end on this note
Yeah, we have
that
1
when
minute.
they ate people, because there's a plane crash that happened in the 70s, they ate people, they did like a spiritual ritual where they like felt like they were like taking the soul of their friends in them. And the Catholic Church actually had to like forgive them and like absolve them of their sins after eating people, lest any of us be in that situation. Because I don't think I could eat someone even if I
Oh,
was starving.
God.
I just don't think I could do it.
I don't think I could either. And Travis was starting to pick up on some of that in the last. He's like, Jackie's memories are my favorite. It's like, whoa, there's
Yeah.
some of this
Yeah.
happening in
Ugh.
yellow. Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
So
I think
anyway,
that's been in a few other things too.
Emily,
That.
we're
there's some
being
stuff
wrapped. I
happening.
want to thank you so
Sorry.
much
Oh,
for
okay.
coming on. If you want to talk about
Oh,
cannibals or Yellow Jacket at any
of
time,
course.
you are more than welcome to come, or anything else. Thank you so much for coming on and giving us those factoids. It's
Thanks.
really, I'm glad I didn't miss Space Jam when I was growing up.
Yeah.
Spice Girls.
Miranda, thank you so much again, and I love you. And it's so fun
Love you
having you on
too.
the show. Thank you for Two Way for bringing Miranda on. We're very grateful. Please forgive me for the crack I said, but I'd love an extra 10 minutes.
I know we need it.
We need it. And thank you so much to Senator Lankford. Go pick up his book. It's called Turnaround America's Revival. And I didn't read the whole thing because we didn't get sent, but it looks really good, genuinely
Yeah.
good. Thank you all
We'll be
so much.
sent
We'll be back again, same time, same place on Monday. And we do have some big fun news coming up that we just have a few loose ends to wrap up that we're excited about. And thank you all so much for listening and watching. We're a little engine that could still growing. One of these shows is going to explode, Miranda, someday. Viral
Someday.
over the internet.
Fingers
Or
crossed.
my mom will just keep watching and your friends.
Yeah, whatever. I like that too.
See you guys Monday.
Bye.